And we are back. Thank you for listening. The Devil's Advocates Radio Show live, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio, 1510 AM, WRRD. Streaming on Facebook, on YouTube. We're on Twitter at Devil Radio. And the phone lines are open always, always, always for our fair audience, 844-967-2789.
Hey, Dom, I found a little tweet. This one, David A. Clark Jr. at Sheriff Clark.
Oh, no.
Obama, all caps, would have been found in a closet sobbing, all caps, if he had had to deal with establishment, all caps, attacks. At Real Donald Trump has metal to withstand.
You serious, Clark?
Wow. I guess the former sheriff has been feeling a little maybe left out since he's no longer sheriff of Milwaukee County.
No obstructionism against Obama. No intransigence there. I mean, the Republicans opposed every frickin' thing the man tried to get accomplished.
But he qualified it. Didn't he? What did he say? Like mainstream? What was his qualifier of the press?
If he had to deal with establishment's attacks.
Yes. Establishment. Yes. See, I guess
so. It was a different form of attack.
Yes,
and he sobbed quietly in a closet.
According to former Sheriff Clark. Yes, of course. I know. Come on.
When criticized,
just an ass.
Let's draw a comparison. When criticized, even by a Gold Star widow, Donald Trump calls her a liar today.
He can't help himself. I mean, Donald Trump does not have the capacity to act like a regular, empathetic human being.
First, they ran out John Kelly at the presser and Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Oh, how dare you question the authority of this man? When,
this
of course,
4-star Marine general. What?
It's inappropriate to question his authority.
Oh, my God.
In fact, he was lying. And there is video that refutes exactly what it is he was claiming, that some congresswoman was out there grabbing glory. That's not at all what she was doing. So Kelly goes out, makes false accusations against her, besmirches her publicly in the most public of forums. No apologies coming. But the wife, Myesha Johnson, the wife of the fallen soldier, had her own statement to make today, Dom. We've got this sound. We got 5 minutes left. Let's play some of the widow speaking of her husband. If you'd be so fine, Fancy Brian, let's start her off with cut 86.
The questions that I have that I need answered is, I want to know why it took them 48 hours to find my husband. Why couldn't I see my husband? Every time I asked to see my husband, they wouldn't let me.
What did they tell you?
They'll tell me that he's in a severe rap, like I won't be able to see him. I need to see him so I will know that that is my husband. I don't know nothing. They won't show me a finger, a hand. I know my husband's body from head to toe. And they won't let me see anything. I don't know what's in that box. It could be empty for all I know.
So she has not been able to physically view her husband's body. She goes on. She talks about the story she was given. First, she was told he was MIA, and then it was KIA. Again, the widow, Myesha Johnson, the Gold Star widow that Trump earlier today called a liar. See if you find her credible. Cut 87.
When they came to my house, they just told me that it was a massive gunfire, and my husband, as of October 4th, was missing. They didn't know his whereabouts. They didn't know where he was or where to find him. And a couple of days later is when they told me that he went from missing to killed in action. I don't know how he got killed, where he got killed, or anything.
Now, Myesha Johnson talks about the details of this phone call that came from the president as she was driving to meet her husband's remains. If you would, Fancy Brian, play cut 88.
And we was literally on the airport strip getting ready to get out. And he called Master Sergeant Neil's phone. I asked Master Sergeant Neil to put his phone on speaker so my aunt and uncle could hear as well. And he goes on to saying his statement as what he said was...
The president?
Yes, the president said that he knew what he signed up for, but it hurts anyways.
Here's another one. The widow's version of the story, the She Said, Cut 89, Fancy Brian.
And it made me cry because I was very angry at the tone of his voice and how he said it. Like he couldn't remember my husband's name. The only way he remembered my husband's name because he told me he had my husband report in front of him. And that's when he actually said, LaDavid. I heard him stumbling on trying to remember my husband's name. And that what hurt me the most, because if my husband is out here fighting for our country and he risks his life for our country, why can't you remember his name?
Apparently Trump forgot the envelope that day or didn't reference it quickly enough. Again, the widow, Myesha Johnson, Cut 90.
What did you say to the president?
I didn't say anything. I just listened.
But you were upset when you got off the phone.
Oh, very, very upset and hurt. Very. It made me cry even worse.
Can we get 92 in there? Let's play 92.
Whatever Miss Wilson said was not fabricated. What she said was 100% correct. It was Master Sergeant Neal, me, my aunt, my uncle, and the driver, and Miss Wilson in the car. The phone was on speakerphone. Why would we fabricate something like that?
Stephanopoulos asked the widow, Myesha Johnson, if she had anything to say to the president. Now, her response was no.
And then Trump tweeted out, I had a very respectful conversation with the widow of Sergeant LaDavid Johnson and spoke his name from the beginning without hesitation.
Effectively called her a liar. More Devil's Advocates come right back. The happy hour starts right now. We got a fine guest. He's Scott Grabens, chair of the Republican Party, Dane County.
There has never been so many lies, so much deception. There has never been anything like it.
Oh, it looks good on you.
Scott Walker thinks Wisconsin should once again hire him as governor.
You wouldn't hire me to be a neurosurgeon.
This is a person who has not worked in the private sector since 1993.
You wouldn't hire me to run condos. You wouldn't hire me to run HP.
And has made his political career.
You probably wouldn't hire me to run the United States Senate.
By using divisive tactics to the benefit of his corporate donors.
First step is we're going to deal with collective bargaining for all public employee unions. Because you divide and conquer.
Now he supports the largest publicly funded government subsidy of a foreign corporation in American history.
You know, they can go suck lemons.
And Scott Walker has yet to live up to his first campaign promise to create 250,000 jobs.
Is this a campaign promise? Something you want to be held to?
Absolutely.
Scott Walker, we the people are done sucking your lemons. This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
Pete's Fruit Market, a family-owned business serving Milwaukee for more than a generation, now has a brand new second location at the corner of North Avenue and Martin Luther King Drive in Milwaukee's Brunsville neighborhood. The new store is open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week and always features the freshest fruits and vegetables at the lowest prices. In addition to offering the best produce, Pete's Fruit Market is also a full-line grocery store featuring fresh meats and delicious deli items. Pete's Fruit Market, Milwaukee's best produce.
The Devil's Advocates. Political commentary from the back of the class.
Hey, Ike, welcome to the Devil's Advocates. What do you got for us today?
Fantastic. Thanks for taking a call. And I got to start off with my favorite wrestler, Bobby the Brain Heenan.
If the Wankinator was a wrestler, who do you think would most personify the current governor?
I got a great name for him, Scott the Shyster Walker. I think that should be his wrestling name.
I think it's already been used. I think it's his skateboard name, sir. Allegedly.
You are listening to Wisconsin's Resistance Radio, WRRD, 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee.
What happened in Niger? The Weinstein investigation. I'm Ann Cates. As the probe continues into the deaths of 4 U.S. servicemen in Niger, lawmakers on Capitol Hill are asking questions.
The Pentagon insists it kept Congress informed of the operation, and the White House says it notified congressional leaders in June about troops conducting counterterrorism duties in Niger and Cameroon. But some lawmakers say it wasn't enough. Among the questions still lingering, how Sergeant LaDavid Johnson was separated from his 12-member team as it was ambushed. His body wasn't recovered until 48 hours later. Some answers might come soon. The Senate Armed Services Committee will hold its first congressional hearings on that deadly ambush this week. I'm Omar Jimenez reporting.
The New York State investigation into fallen Hollywood movie mogul Harvey Weinstein is expanding.
Eric Schneiderman sent a subpoena to the Weinstein Company asking for a wide variety of documents and other information. New York's Attorney General said that no New Yorker should be forced to walk into a workplace ruled by sexual intimidation, harassment, or fear. The AG's Civil Rights Bureau asked for personnel files, hiring and promotion practices, all complaints of sexual harassment or discrimination, and records about how those complaints were handled, according to a person who saw the subpoena. The AG also wants any information about private out-of-court settlements. Steve Kastenbaum, New York.
The deadline for prototypes for President Trump's border wall is this week. Correspondent Jim Roop reports construction of the wannabe walls is nearly complete.
There is just one still putting on the finishing touches, which seems to simply be the drying of concrete, of which 4 of the walls are built. The other 4 are built with other materials. Now, around the end of November, testing is to begin. There is no wall that can't be breached, really, so the testing will be primarily how long do they take to breach? How much time will the Border Patrol agents have to stop whoever it is that is attempting the breach?
On Wall Street, the Dow fell 55 points, the Nasdaq down 42. I'm Ann Cates.
Message and data rates may apply.
Has dinner got you down? Sick of awful frozen meals or unhealthy fast food? Don't despair, because Martha Stewart is doing a free taste test, giving away free full-size meals from her new meal kit delivery service, Martha and Marley Spoon. All fresh ingredients with Martha's delicious and easy recipes. You're eating in just 30 minutes. To be part of Martha's at-home taste test and get 3 free meals, be one of the first 100 people to text the word TASTE to 246810. It's so easy. Text us now. Martha and Marley Spoon meals are easy, simple, and delicious. And right now, Martha wants you to enjoy 3 of her best 30-minute meals for free, so you can save time and enjoy eating dinner again. To be part of Martha's at-home taste test and get your 3 free meals, be one of the first 100 people to text TASTE to 246810. That's TASTE to 246810. TASTE to 246810.
Target is fighting early Christmas encroachment.
Target says customers want it to pause what's being called Christmas creep, so they're letting up a bit on Christmas holiday promotions this year, while giving Thanksgiving a little more recognition. For November, Target will keep Thanksgiving signs and displays at the entrances, and its marketing will play up Thanksgiving meal preparation and entertaining for shoppers. Trying to fend off slumping sales at brick-and-mortar stores, Target is spending $7 billion over 3 years remodeling older stores and opening up new ones. They're also pushing faster delivery for online orders. I'm Michael Toscano.
China has lifted a ban on imports of soft and blue cheeses, including Brie, Camembert, and Stilton. The ban, which began in early September, was reversed following meetings between European and Chinese officials. Europe had opposed the restrictions because China considers the same cheese as safe if produced in that country. I'm Ann Cates.
What if hiring could be easier, less time-consuming, with more qualified candidates and faster results? What if hiring could be smarter? Thanks to ZipRecruiter, it can be. With one click, post your job to over 100 of the web's leading job boards, so you don't spend time wondering where the right candidates are searching. Then ZipRecruiter uses its smart matching technology to scan millions of active resumes and notify the most qualified candidates to apply for your job. And the ZipRecruiter dashboard makes it easy to review, rate, and contact candidates, all in one place. No wonder 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. ZipRecruiter makes it simple for growing businesses of all sizes to hire the right people, no matter the industry. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
We're so confident ZipRecruiter will get you the results you need. We'll let you try it free. That's right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/.
Good afternoon. It is 5:05 for 1510 a.m. WRRD, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio. My name is Brian Kelly. Health insurance costs for many American families are going to rise due to Donald Trump's position on subsidies. The president recently announced that his administration will stop paying insurance companies the subsidies that make health care affordable for low-income Americans. The marketplaces for individuals to purchase health insurance open on Wednesday of next week. Since the rates for people who receive subsidies are capped at a percentage of their income, The insurance companies are expected to raise costs for people who do not qualify for subsidies to make up for the money the Trump administration is holding back. Tonight, rain after 1 a.m., lows in the upper 40s. Tomorrow, rain likely, highs in the upper 40s. And Wednesday, partly sunny, highs around 50. And despite our best efforts, it's still 53 in gray in Milwaukee and 52 in gray in Waukesha. For 1510 a.m., WRRD, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio. My name is Brian Kelly.
The following program is a presentation of DC Communications, LLC. Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. We are sliding into the 5 o'clock happy hour. And Dom, I'm happy to announce we got a guest standing by. He is Scott Grabens. He is the chair of the Republican Party of Dane County. Scott, welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show.
Great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir.
Well, Scott, I wish it was under differing circumstances. Last time you were on, we had been co-panelist on Greg Newman's show, I believe. This time, you've been PolitiFacted, my friend. And this one, we're going to give you every opportunity to defend your prior statement. But the good folks at PolitiFact, our frenemies over there, they said you were false. Scott, what was your statement, if you recall, sir?
Well, the original statement, or the context of it, is obviously here in Madison, we had Mayor Soglin looking to take down some Confederate monuments. And throughout that, he was lecturing us, everyone in the city, about our history and the need to understand our history, slavery, racism, etc. Our statement was simply, if we're going to talk about history, let's be complete. Let's talk about all the facts. And the particular statement that PolitiFact called us out on was the idea that the Ku Klux Klan was founded as the military arm of the Democratic Party.
But, Scott, of course, they're going to say, you don't know your history, sir. They rated your statement false. Do you think it was a fair rating, Scott?
No, I think they're splitting hairs. If you read the entire article, I mean, nobody can dispute there was, 5 or 6 points that we made showing the relationship throughout history between the Democratic Party, the Ku Klux Klan, various racist policies, and nobody disputes any of that. It comes down to this very formal definition of what does it mean to be, an official arm of the Democratic Party. Even in the article, they quoted one historian that said certainly the Ku Klux Klan could be considered a militaristic body. So it's just this parsing of what's it mean to be official.
Now, Scott, do you consider it a derogatory statement to say that the KKK was founded as a military arm of the Democratic Party? Are you casting aspersions on your political quote-unquote enemies here by making such a statement, Scott?
No, certainly not. This is, again, in context. In context, we're talking about the history of race relations in this country, starting with the Civil War, through Jim Crow laws, the movements of the 60s, and looking at the party throughout that time. And to say that the Democratic Party, particularly, after the Civil War, during Reconstruction, was buried or, tied hand in hand with the Ku Klux Klan, I don't think is, I guess I should say is completely factual.
Scott, let me ask you, let's talk about modern history. Many of these Confederate statues that were put up were either put up in the 19-teens or they were put up in the 1960s. And in many cases, these Confederate monuments were put up as a reminder to blacks that whites were in control, Scott. I mean, if you talk about historical context, there's a clear relevance between the time frame of these monuments erectment and what was going on in the nation's history at that time. And Scott, you might also agree, at least if you're a student of history, sir, that during the 1960s, we sort of saw a flipping and a flopping of the parties. The Democratic Party became a civil rights party, in no small part thanks to Lyndon Baines Johnson and his signing of the Voter Rights Acts, etc. The Republican Party, at least many Southern Republicans, sort of adopted the position formerly held by the Dixiecrats. Scott, is it disingenuous to say, despite historical context, that the Democrats are the party of the Klan? Effectively, what used to be the Democrats have become the Southern Republicans, Scott?
No, I don't buy into the idea that the party's flipped somewhere in there. I mean, I've been Republican, my whole life, and there's no. I mean, I didn't join the Republican Party to support anything of a racist nature. So to say that the party's flipped somehow and Republicans came to represent racist policies, I don't buy into that.
But Scott, would you then, if you say it's not a negative thing, you're just calling out history, do you think it's fair to point towards the historical reference, say the Democrats were somehow associated with the Klan in the 1800s, and that is any reflection on the modern Democratic Party, sir?
And if you read the original press release, we never made that association, and certainly, and I got called from the local paper, to ask, why am I, painting Mayor Soglin as a racist? And I wasn't. We're not. The idea, again, is if we're going to listen to lectures about the history of the party or the history of racism and race relations in the United States, if we're going to talk about it from, the 1800s through the, mid-1900s, that was part and parcel with the Democratic Party. And nobody can refute that.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. We're speaking with Scott Grabens, chair of the Republican Party of Dane County. He joins us on the phone. Scott was PolitiFacted as false for the statement the KKK was founded as the military arm of the Democratic Party. Scott, in the interest of history, I guess I want to be a little more clear on this. You say that your position is, historically speaking, that when the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was passed, that the Dixiecrat, there was not a flipping of the parties. I mean, according to the PolitiFact article, they quote a professor from the University of Buffalo. Although the name stayed the same, the platforms of the two parties reversed each other in the mid-20th century, due in large part to white Dixiecrats' flight out of the Democratic Party and into the Republican Party after the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. By then, the Democratic Party had become the party of reform, supporting a variety of liberal causes, including civil rights, women's rights, etc., whereas this had been the banner of the Republican Party in the 19th century. Scott, do you disagree with that statement from that professor?
Absolutely.
So where are they wrong?
The PolitiFact or the professor?
Where's the professor wrong in that? How do you think historically it occurred?
Yeah, and I certainly, I don't know how deep in the weeds, we need to get into this. But, I've certainly read other professors that have disputed, the notion that the party's flipped somewhere in the 60s. And, I guess, and the PolitiFact, certainly short on details, what elements of the platform flipped there, particularly in the context of supporting racism, and the Ku Klux Klan. And that's simply not true. I think you could say, perhaps, both parties distanced themselves from the Ku Klux Klan, or the Democrats after the 60s, but they didn't move, into the Republican Party, because that's certainly not welcome within the Republican Party.
Well, let us talk about history. Let's talk about today for a moment, if we may, Scott. Do you think that the Republican Party is the party of inclusion, that it does welcome African Americans and other minorities into the party? Would you consider the Dane County Republican Party a beacon of a place for minorities to go to get their grievances heard?
Well, I would certainly say we're inclusive. The Republican Party of Dane County, we're welcome to anyone that wants to join us. And it's about, the principles we're promoting and there is no element of, I guess, of race or identity politics that's part of, what we promote. And I would say, I mean, even if you look around my executive committee, here in Dane County, but about a quarter of them, represent minorities. So they're certainly here. We're welcoming. Last year at our Lincoln Reagan Day dinner, invited the president of the NAACP to come speak to us. We welcomed him, and his message, and reached out to them. So certainly I don't see it here. It's not part of what we do.
Scott, one last question I have for you then. From Republicans here in the state of Wisconsin, what kind of legislation that has passed in the last, say, 10 years since Governor Walker has been in, do you think would support the minority community?
Well, I think, I guess the one that's the closest and near and dear to my heart would be school vouchers. I believe, one of the single biggest things we could do for our minority communities is to give them access to new educational opportunities. And we've seen that, time and time again, when you have access to better schools, better education, that's a force that rises everyone up. So I think, and I see that as something that is good for everyone.
Scott, if that is your heartfelt belief, do you take objection to Trump and his reaction post-violence in Charlottesville, saying there's, good people on many sides, and that there was equity somehow between what appeared to be the peaceable protesters of the left and what appeared to be some pretty violent protesters on the right that were there espousing pro-Trump sentiment? Scott, can you be a party of inclusiveness and also a party that embraces Donald Trump?
Well, there are a couple questions there. I guess certainly, with the violence that occurred there, and I don't believe that the president ever meant to say that there's good people in the Ku Klux Klan. What he's trying to say in that crowd in general, that there was other people there besides the individuals that were causing trouble. For those people that want to cause trouble, incite violence, and regardless of whether they're on the left or the right, whether it's the Ku Klux Klan or what we see going on with the Antifa crowds, they're not welcome. And that's where, those are the bad apples, I think, that we have coarsening our political discourse here.
Scott, what would you attribute the rise of white nationalism, white supremacists? Why are they rising seemingly during the time of Donald Trump if there's not some correlation or some causation going on here, buddy?
Well, I don't have these numbers off the top of my head. I remember reading recently. I don't know exactly what that rise is. My understanding, the Ku Klux Klan still is a minuscule part of the United States in general, and I think, certainly there's been some events that have, raised their awareness, in the general population, but I don't believe that there's a swelling of the ranks of racist and white nationalism within the United States per se.
Richard Spencer went to Florida this weekend. 3 of his supporters have been arrested for firing random gunshots at peaceful protesters. If Spencer was invited back to the UW, would you support his appearance here on campus? Of course, newly protected by the regent's policies, Scott, that say, any protest thereof would be subject to expulsion. Scott, would you welcome Richard Spencer on UW's campus in your hometown, Madison?
Well, and I guess I'm not fully aware of the situation that occurred there, but from what you said, it sounded as if he wasn't responsible for firing any shots, and that these were perhaps some bad apples that were there to participate in the event. Assuming that, he wasn't there and inciting it in any way, shape, or form, I don't see why, we wouldn't invite him to speak. And I think, in general, we're getting way too protectionist about who we are inviting to come speak on our campuses. And I frankly trust our college-age students to be able to make smart decisions on their own.
Scott, do you think that you think he would add anything to the discussion? You just talked about how these things are coarsening the discussion here in the country. Do you think Richard Spencer coming to speak would do anything to make that better?
I can't say for sure. Frankly, I'm not terribly aware of the entire situation around him personally.
I don't think he likes minorities, Scott.
Again, I said I don't know him personally, but I think in general there's always going to be people that are out there that are idiots that are going to want to speak, that are going to want to come on and shout a point of view that we don't agree with or maybe isn't mainstream.
Now, are we talking about?
Be very careful.
Are we talking about Trump here, Scott? Does the Dane County Republicans, do you guys still embrace Donald Trump? He's the leader of the party, is he not?
Yes, yeah. And we can embrace Trump, and that doesn't mean that, we necessarily embrace every single tweet or every single comment. No different than, there's Democrats that didn't support everything that President Obama did. But in general, yes. Yeah, we still support him, and I think, that overall, the policies he's pushed are the right things for this country.
Scott Grabens, chair of the Republican Party of Dane County, we appreciate you joining us here on the Devil's Advocates today, Scott.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, sir.
Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates. We'll take a break. Phone lines open for your reaction. 844-967-2789. Come back, murderers, rapists, or worse, Devil's Advocates, after this short break.
Mr. Breeze.
KKK? That's not good.
On many sides. On many sides.
I don't want to hit a sore spot, but can we talk about herpes?
On many sides. On many sides.
I gotta steal that bit.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009 or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
Hi, this is Brad Saug, owner of Zero Res Madison Carpet Cleaning. Zero Res is the best new technology in carpet cleaning. We have a patented process using empowered water, a high-tech process in which we force the water to act like soap. It doesn't want to stay in that state. It's jacked up and it's angry and it wants to hit the dirt and then it neutralizes. When we're done, all that's left in your carpet is just light moisture. In the end, you get the cleanest, greenest, healthiest carpet cleaning available. Call us at 848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it backward or forward. It's the right way to clean.
In Wisconsin, the laws are the same for bicyclists and motorists, so if you bike, ride with the traffic and obey signs and lights. Whether you ride a bike or drive a car, you must yield the right of way to pedestrians at marked and unmarked crosswalks. At intersections, always look for pedestrians before making a turn and slow down in school zones and neighborhoods to keep our kids safe. Share and be aware. We're all responsible. Visit shareandbeaware.org to learn more.
Mark your calendars. Wednesday, November 8th, the ACLU of Wisconsin's Bill of Rights celebration, a year of resistance at the Italian Conference Center in Milwaukee. Dinner and award ceremony starts at 5. After party starts at 8. Dom.
Crudy, the keynote speaker, is the National ACLU Political Director, Faz Shakir. Tickets for the whole evening, $100 per person, or just come to party with the Devil's Advocates and music from Madison's own Whiskey Farm for just $25.
The ACLU is honoring Planned Parenthood, the NAACP Youth Commandos of 1967, the brave plaintiffs in their case against conditions at Lincoln Hills, and the lead plaintiff in the voter ID case.
The ACLU of Wisconsin's Bill of Rights celebration, Wednesday, November 8th. Go to aclu-wi.org for tickets and more information.
I only drink when I feel good. I've got what I love and I love what I've got. It just so happens I'm happy alive.
Hey folks, sexy liberal Stephanie Miller here. Most new Wisconsin jobs are in Dane County, it's true. Some of my listeners are relocating to Madison. Many already commute there. When asked where to turn for a trusted real estate team that understands Madison, I say the same thing. Solidarity Realty. They help you through the process and protect your consumer rights. They live their values building community, promoting sustainability and diversity. Find them today at solidarityrealty.com and tell them Stephanie Miller sent you.
I'm probably okay to have one more drink before I drive home. I'm probably okay. I open the window to stay alert. Probably okay. I just popped some gum in my mouth.
Step out of the car, please.
I probably made a mistake.
Probably okay isn't okay when it comes to drinking and driving. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
It's a lot easier to measure how many times students use a semicolon correctly in an essay.
Educated educators talking education.
Than it is to measure how many wonderful ideas are in that essay.
Busted Pencils.
There is no teacher shortage.
With Dr. Tim Slecker.
There is a teacher exit.
Featuring Matt Damon's mom.
You want to know what my mom would say?
We've had an intrusion into education.
Busted Pencils Radio. Saturdays at 11 on Resistance Radio.
Kicking ass and taking names since the Wisconsin Uprising. Dom and Crute are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show live on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio, 1510 AM WRRD. Streaming on YouTube, Facebook, on Twitter at Devil Radio, and always toll free on the phones for you, 844-967-2789.
Like to thank our most recent guest, my former co-panelist, Scott Grabens, on the Newman Show. You know, Newman's leaving WKOW end of the month.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember
end of
that.
November. Be even worse if he was leaving end of October. Still time for one more Crudy and Dom appearance. Perhaps we'll be joined by Scott Grabens, the chair of the Republican Party of Dane County. I don't agree with Scott's historical context. I don't know how Scott can bring to light this issue. And of course, you know, it's okay to get hammered by PolitiFact. It happens to the worst of them. The KKK was founded as the military arm of the Democratic Party. Now, I think it is perhaps historically true. There is some connection between the original Democratic Party and the KKK. Now, perhaps the KKK, as was alleged by the Dane County Republican chair, wasn't the militaristic arm. They weren't directly connected, but certainly there was a reflection of the politics and the politicians through the Klan. But all that changed once upon a time. I mean, I don't know if Scott hasn't heard of Lee Atwater, maybe Reagan, the Southern Strategy. It all changed with the Voting Rights Act, with the Civil Rights Bill, with LBJ.
1964.
I don't see many Southern Dems coming out of the Deep South. Once upon a time, the entire Sun Belt was democratically held. Now it's entirely Republican held. What happened in about 1964, Scott? I mean, it wasn't a total eclipse of the sun. You know, it wasn't some celestial change that happened to the two parties. It was a shift change predicated on treatment of African Americans. And it, of course, became a wedge issue. It became an electoral issue. And it is being carried forth by Donald Trump to this very day. Murderers, rapists, and many good people, I'm sure.
On both sides.
Muslim bans. You know, these things all inspire the white nationalists. These things are all what got the Klan up and marching. And if you attach your party to Donald Trump, come on, Scott, man. You got guilt on you as well. More Devil's Advocates. Phone lines open right now, 844-967-2789.
Hey, what happened?
Herpes, burpees, banana, fana, herpes, ow!
Don't you have homes?
Well, you're listening to Wisconsin's Resistance Radio, WRRD, 1510 AM, Milwaukee, Waukesha. Ooh, I just felt a trickle down.
Scott Walker thinks Wisconsin should once again hire him as governor.
You wouldn't hire me to be a neurosurgeon.
This is a person who has not worked in the private sector since 1993.
You wouldn't hire me to run condos. You wouldn't hire me to run HP.
And has made his political career.
You probably wouldn't hire me to run the United States Senate.
By using divisive tactics to the benefit of his corporate donors.
First step is we're going to deal with collective bargaining for all public employee unions. Because you divide and conquer.
Now he supports the largest publicly funded government subsidy of a foreign corporation in American history.
You know, they can go suck lemons.
And Scott Walker has yet to live up to his first campaign promise to create 250,000 jobs.
Is this a campaign promise, something you want to be held to?
Absolutely. Scott Walker, we the people are done sucking your lemons. This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
Hi, I'm Anton Capella. As Chief Technology Officer at Five Nines, I work hard to be a leader in my industry, and I know the challenges posed by changing technology. It's my priority to make sure your network is up over 99% of the time. There's no question, trying to manage your own business IT is risky, costly, and time-consuming. Don't let IT overwhelm you. Learn more about Five Nines at fivenines.com. That's the number 5, NINES.com.
Going through divorce is a very emotional time in someone's life, and when I went through my first divorce, I really needed someone to help me through the legal aspects of what my rights were. That's why I got in contact with Lawton & Cates.
The attorneys at Lawton & Cates. It's who you turn to for legal advice. 282-6200 or lawtoncates.com.
When you need an attorney, trust the voice of experience. The only choice, Lawton & Cates.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
I don't know if you know the Devil's Advocates, but they are kind of a big deal.
Well, you guys are having a good show so far.
Hey, could you say that again? Just not for our sake, Paul, but for the sake of the audience.
Yeah, tell everybody once again what a great show we are having.
You guys have a good show almost every day.
Wow, almost. All right, thanks for calling, Paul. I'm just kidding.
Okay, every day.
Tweet some shade at you, Paul.
The Devil's Advocates, weekday afternoons on 1510 AM, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio. Good afternoon. It is 5:33 for 1510 AM WRRD, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio. My name is Brian Kelly. Milwaukee has dropped in the rankings for the entrepreneurial business growth. Milwaukee metro area, including Waukesha and West Allis, fell to 33rd place from 26th place last year. The rankings come from the Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation, one of the leading entrepreneurship and advocacy research organizations in the nation. The report looked at the rate of startup growth, the share of scale-ups, and density of high-growth companies. The Menominee Tribe has purchased the naming rights for the Wisconsin Herd new arena in Oshkosh. The Herd are the minor league affiliate of the Milwaukee Bucks. Terms of the 5-year sponsorship were not released. The new arena is expected to open in time for the Herd's first home game on November 17th. Tonight, rain after 1 a.m., lows in the upper 40s. Currently, it's 53 degrees and gray in Milwaukee and 51 in Waukesha for 1510 a.m. My name is Brian Kelly.
The Devil's Advocates, making radio great again.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. We are in the midst of the happy hour. We'd be happy if you joined us on the phones. Can't do it alone, can we, Don?
No, we always want some input from the outside.
844-967-2789. 844-96-PARTY. Who's first?
Let's get to it. Pizza Box Mike, welcome back, buddy. What do you got for us today?
Yeah, that is a ridiculous argument about who supported slavery way back when. I mean, yeah, things have changed. And that reminds me, Crudy, you got to see Voss and Charlie Sykes. Well, I saw the Attorney General, Brad Schimmel, last Wednesday at that memorial.
And what was the shill doing?
What was the show doing? Well,
No, the shill. Brad Schimmel, the Republican hack shill.
The show. Yeah, he brought up the NFL and said it was a disgraceful display. Then he talked about false information. He basically was defending the fact that police don't, shoot unarmed black people indiscriminately. But anyway, I was talking to a couple of officers I'll leave unnamed because that's the way you should do it. But they were in agreement with me when I said that these words for these fallen officers are coming from the wrong people. So afterwards, I went up to Schimmel and I asked him if he had a spare kick-ass everyday coin, because I kick ass every day.
And what was his response to you?
Well, I said, usually against guys like you. And he said, what do you mean by that? And I said, well, sir, I don't think you've done a very good job at defending the citizens in this state or the Constitution. And we started debating the Constitution, and he said that if it wasn't followed the way it was meant to, and I also let him know that that was his interpretation of the Constitution. We used to follow precedent, not set precedent from our legislators or our judges.
Or the Attorney General with legal opinions that he gets to write on high-capacity wells, even though he's conflicted as a representative of the state. Can't have it both ways, but he did.
Yeah, and I told him I disagreed with him on everything that he's backed up Scott Walker and the Republicans, and I also reminded him that we've had several occasions where federal judges have ruled in favor of the protections for the citizens in this state, only to have you appeal it to the kangaroo court. And he had to take it because I wasn't being disrespectful. And no, you don't have to show respect until it's earned. So I was basically just having a discussion with him, and he thanked me and said that it's good that we could agree to disagree, and I let him know that you can expect me to disagree with you more in the future. And a couple people heard it and were, like, thanks, that was really good. And he had to take it in front of the public. Of course, there weren't any cameras taking any shots of this, but this is how you really, when you meet these people and you get a chance to interact with them in public, it's up to us to expose them to the people that are there. Maybe they're there in support of them. Maybe they're there just to honor fallen officers. But it's nice to let people see that. I basically let them know that the purpose of he wasn't fooling me and I wasn't fooling him. But the purpose of this meeting was to let him know that I know, and I left it at that.
Pizza Box Mike, I know that you know that I know that Schimmel is a shill. And I got one more example for you. I got a headline out of the great state of Wisconsin today. Brad Schimmel gives bonuses to former Crime Labs director as DNA testing delays grow. Keegan Kyle, USA Today Network. Attorney General Brad Schimmel awarded about $7,300 in bonuses to his former Crime Labs director while DNA testing delays grew under her tenure, records obtained by the USA Today Network Wisconsin show. Jana Champion received $3,660 merit bonus in May of 2016, and the same amount in May of this year, according to personnel files released under open records laws. Letters informing her of the bonuses contain no detailed explanation.
Here's some money.
Do Republicans ever give explanation? A spokesman for Schimmel declined requests to specify why the bonuses were awarded and what the Attorney General knew at the time about the expanding backlog of evidence at the state's crime labs. Only a broad statement was provided. Here's a quote, Dom. Ms. Champion had a distinguished career in state service for 3 decades and was an exceptional manager, unless she wasn't. Ms. Champion always had the Attorney General's full confidence and support. And Dominic, she retired recently. Champion retired in August, a few weeks before the USA Today Network Wisconsin revealed rising crime lab delays, and Schimmel announced new steps to speed up lab work. She had planned to work through the end of the year, record show. Asked if the Attorney General pressed Champion to step down, Schimmel's spokesman, Johnny Cormenos, said Champion moved up her retirement date in order to tend to pressing health matters. He declined to elaborate.
Champion's gross salary as director of the state's crime labs was nearly $107,000 last year, according to state figures published online. Schimmel tapped Champion for the job in April of 2015. She was previously deputy director of the state crime lab for 2.5 years and head of the Milwaukee lab, state's Milwaukee lab, for 6 years. The state's 2 other labs are in Madison and Wausau. As director, Champion ran the labs during a period when technicians struggled to keep up with a surge in requests for DNA tests and other forensics reviews. A number of DNA cases pending at the end of each week steadily grew throughout her tenure. By the time she retired, more than 1,000 cases had stacked up, and DNA tests were increasingly taking months to complete.
She's doing a heck of a job.
The average DNA case submitted to labs took 61 days last year, up by 18 days from the previous year and 24 days from 2013, according to State Department of Justice figures. Delays in testing drug and gun evidence climbed too.
Isn't that pretty much their whole job, doing the testing over there at the crime lab?
So it's gone.
Did they get millions of dollars to clear this backlog?
They're less efficient. They're climbing. It took 61 days last year, and she gets a bonus, a merit bonus, no less.
But Dom, the Department of Justice official, said DNA delays haven't impeded high-priority cases such as homicide and rape investigations, but they also don't track how long DNA evidence sits on shelves for certain categories of crime. Buddy, mismanagement. Here's a bonus. You and Fancy Brian should get bonuses like every month.
Every month. Hell, man. We get more efficient as the time goes on. Apparently, you get less efficient if you work for the DOJ. And then if you do, so what? Here's some money. Take some money. Thanks for your help.
Do you think Jana Champion's got some kicking ass everyday coins at home?
Oh, I hope so.
You know, up on the shelf.
There's only one way you can get the full faith and confidence of the Attorney General of the State of Wisconsin. That's to purchase your KAED coin. Oh, they're giving away.
The taxpayers purchased them. Yes. He just gave them away to favored donors, you know, and people that apparently created backlogs at the crime lab. Although one can't be sure it was purely her. It could have been the Attorney General not doing his job as well. But he sure did give away a lot of kicking ass everyday coins, Dom. $10,000 worth and counting. Like $80,000 worth of swag. You want some cool DOJ stuff? All you got to do is be Republican and ask.
What would this person have to do to not get the bonus? I mean, these things are stacking up. The timelines are increasing. I mean, how bad does it have to be to not get the bonus from the Attorney General?
Well, she would have had to have efficiently processed the criminal evidence of some Republican doings. You know, that wouldn't have been good. She wouldn't have gotten a bonus then. Come back with us. Bonuses for those that stick around to the end. More Devil's Advocates after this short break.
Was that wrong? Should I not have done that? I tell you, I gotta plead ignorance on this thing, because if anyone had said anything to me at all when I first started here that sort of thing was frowned upon...
Herpes, trust me.
Have you outgrown your house? Are you sick of apartment living? Not ready to buy but know you need to move? Hi folks, this is Tom Hartman for CCL Management in Middleton. You should consider moving up to one of the finer rental homes CCL Management represents. Unique houses and condos, always clean, most are pet friendly. Visit cclmanagement.com today to find your new home. CCL Management, Dane County's premier leasing and property management company.
Call CCL Management at 833-0009. That's 833-0009 or visit cclmanagement.com today.
In Wisconsin, the laws are the same for bicyclists and motorists, so if you bike, ride with the traffic and obey signs and lights. Whether you ride a bike or drive a car, you must yield the right-of-way to pedestrians at marked and unmarked crosswalks. At intersections, always look for pedestrians before making a turn, and slow down in school zones and neighborhoods to keep our kids safe. Share and be aware. We're all responsible. Visit shareandbeaware.org to learn more. Pete's Fruit Market, a family-owned business serving Milwaukee for more than a generation, now has a brand new second location at the corner of North Avenue and Martin Luther King Drive in Milwaukee's Brunsville neighborhood. The new store is open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week and always features the freshest fruits and vegetables at the lowest prices. In addition to offering the best produce, Pete's Fruit Market is also a full-line grocery store featuring fresh meats and delicious deli items. Pete's Fruit Market, Milwaukee's best produce.
So, Jesse, why should someone buying a home pay for an agent when they can go online or call a number on the for sale sign?
Great question.
First of all, never call the number on a sign to see a home. That's the seller's agent, and they don't represent your interests. If they show you the home outside of an open house, you forfeit your ability to have someone negotiate in your corner to buy that house at no cost to you.
Well, with interest rates still at historic lows, how can buyers still get a great deal and protect their rights?
Step 1. Find a buyer's agent that you trust.
Like you?
Like me. I will find the home that best fits your needs, anticipate problems, and negotiate on your behalf from the offer through closing day. And the best part is that the buyer doesn't have to pay a dime for me to represent them.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, they're honest. Whether buying or selling in Madison or Dane County, call Solidarity Realty 608-284-9311 or find them at solidarityrealty.com.
Chris Abley and Board Chair Theo Lipscomb have different plans for Milwaukee County. For the past 6 years, Chris Abley has balanced Milwaukee County's budget, reduced debt, and protected vital services without raising property taxes. Abley's fiscally responsible budget proposal this year continues the progress we've made toward a more sustainable future for Milwaukee County. Abley is putting people back to work, but Theo's cuts would end job training programs. Abley's budget maintained, but Theo Lipscomb has a different plan. Theo isn't willing to make the hard choices and is demanding devastating service cuts to our roads and keeps public transit affordable. But Theo's cuts would slash bus routes and delay road repairs. Abley is fighting to keep our parks and senior centers open, but Theo's cuts could shut them down. And while Abley's budget tackles the opioid epidemic, Theo's cuts would hurt public health and make our communities less safe. Call your county supervisor. Tell them to support Chris Abley's budget for Milwaukee County. Paid for by Chris Abley for County Executive.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
The Devil's Advocates. We drink when we toast. We toast when we drink.
And we're back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show live on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio, 1510 AM WRRD. On the phones, last segment, if you want to get your opinion in, 844-967-2789.
Dominic, we started this show talking about the Kestrel airplane deal that the WEDC wankers baby's got to go and try to claw back 5 years after the fact through the courts.
Oh, you mean the Kestrel airline lawsuit?
Come on, they had a prototype. Why not give them $20 million?
Oh, God. Why? Walker?
It will be a transformative, regionally changing, hell, it might change the country, or so Scott Walker claimed.
Could change the world.
Day he rolled the deal out, you know, the day before the recall petitions were submitted. Conspicuous timing. Well, Dom, we point out often here in the great state of Wisconsin, entrepreneurship is abysmal. Dead last in the nation. Why do we say that? Because it's true. This article from May, you were kind enough to pull it up. For a third straight year, Wisconsin ranks last, dead last, all the states, last in business startup activity. That means we're behind Alabama, Mississippi, Alaska. We're behind everyone.
Everyone.
Another year, another last place ranking for Wisconsin on the business startup front for the third year running. I think Governor Walker was the governor all 3 years. Wisconsin is placed 50th among the 50 states in startup activity as measured by the Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation, one of the country's leading entrepreneurship advocacy and research organizations. And according to this article in the Journal Sentinel back in May, Dom, not only was Wisconsin last, the gap between Wisconsin and the next lowest states widened significantly from 2016 and 2015.
So it got worse.
Yes, we are getting worse. We're not only dead last, we're dead last with a bullet. I'm not sure how you declare such a negative growth. While other states are clustered with relatively small differences from one state to the next, Wisconsin stands as an outlier On the low end, one quick quote, Dom, it just feels like a broken record, said Joe Kurgis, co-founder of The Generator, a company with offices in Milwaukee and Madison that runs a respected training program for startups. Maybe I should have signed up for that, Dom.
Yeah, right?
We've played this song so many times in terms of we've been dead last and dead last and dead last. Reminds me of a Ronnie Day, James Dio song, Last in Line, Dom.
Rick Rommel, the Journal Sentinel, back on May 18th. Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker's office, meanwhile, said the latest Kaufman report is not a comprehensive analysis, Crudy. It fails to include such data as wages, employment, industry, and the long-term success of startups in each state, Tom Evenson said by an email. Federal data shows that Wisconsin has one of the highest levels of business survivorship in the nation. We're ranked in the top 10 for both 6-year and 10-year survivorship rates. You know, survivorship, Crudy.
Here's a new article. This one published October 22nd. Wisconsin and Milwaukee towards the bottom, but not last, of growth entrepreneurship rankings. Dom.
Okay, so not startups. Now we're talking about growth.
Growth. The Milwaukee. So a different metric.
Of the very super few startups that actually occur in the state of Wisconsin, now we're going to rank how they actually, once they start up, how they grow.
Well, Dom, you know, the governor doesn't want to be tagged with 50th out of 50. He says, go look at a different metric. There's got to be something
out there
that's better than 50th out of 50. Well, here it is. Hang your hat on this, Wankinator. The Milwaukee metro area fell in the rankings for entrepreneurial business growth to 33 out of 40, continuing a pattern of poor performance in such reports. Feels so great to be the lone startup in Milwaukee this year, Dom. In 2016, the Milwaukee, Waukesha, West Ellis area ranked 26th. So, Gubernator, also on this separate metric, we're going backwards. The ranking updated this month is from the Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation. Maybe you've heard of them, Scott. One of the leading entrepreneurship and advocacy research organizations in the country. I hate to be so redundant, pointing out the group's credentialization, Dom. Here's one more thought. The latest report looks at the rate of startup growth, the share of scale-ups, and the density of high-growth companies. In other words, these would be good things. It's one thing to start a little basement company, and it's just you, and you work there, and you call it a startup. Well, by technical definitions, that's true. Scott Walker's tried to call a lot of Girl Scout organizations in Little League Baseball, LLC, startups.
If you go to the Department of Financial Institutions, pay your $130 or whatever it is, you can
it's
start
$145 now.
Your own LLC, and you can be included in Scott Walker's statistic.
Well, anyways, here's a different statistic. The latest report looks at the rate of startup growth, the share of scale-ups, and density of high-growth companies, as we talked about. Well, Dom, the density of high-growth companies in Milwaukee increased from 2015 to 16, though still down from a 2013 peak. For 2016, there was 62.8 high-growth companies for every 100,000 businesses. A high-growth company is defined as one with at least $2 million in annual revenue, reaching 3 years of 20% annual revenue growth. Not there yet around here at WRRD. Hope to be there someday. The new update gave a snapshot of the state's startup growth through 2014 in metro areas. The average 5-year startup in 2014 grew 33%, measured with the change in employment. Those startups had, on average, 6.7 employees at their founding, and then 8.9 employees in 2014. Wow, the growth! Just 1.88% of companies that started small grew to employ 50 or more people in 10 years. That means 19 out of every 1,000 firms 10 years and younger reach 50 employees. Those were the stick around, the grow, the scale up numbers. That's what Walker was going to try and obfuscate his bad business startup numbers with. They don't seem so great, Dom.
The state held its spot at 23 out of the 25 largest states for 2017 in entrepreneurial business growth. Across Wisconsin, the rate of startup growth was greater than in Milwaukee metro area. The average 5 5-year-old startup in 2014 grew almost 51%, measured by change in employees from its founding. But the percentage of scale-ups, companies that started small and grew to employ 50 people or more in 10 years, was less at 1.36. A lot of statistics.
We love stats on the radio. They just, make people glaze over and drive into the
But
ditch.
let's just bring it home.
Bring it home,
Finishing up the Sarah Hauer piece of the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Wisconsin ranked last in startup activity for the third year in a row in the Kaufman Index released in May. Of course, we referenced that piece as well.
Not the comprehensive numbers that I want you to look at. Let me find some other numbers. Look over there, please.
844-967-2789. Let's get some opinions before we run out of time. Pete from Greenfield, you will be next. Thanks for calling, Pete. What do you got today?
Hey, Pete.
Well, we're in great position because now we can go nowhere but up. Even if it's not good enough to go up to the next spot, we can get better no matter what almost. Scotty's got us in a great position. Don't you think the guy couldn't get a job in 93, so he got elected, and now he's in this situation. He can't find a job. He couldn't find a job. I mean, here we are. This guy is just a total loser.
Loser. That's too kind of word for the man, I would say, Pete. He won special election in 1993. He won special election to win the county executive here in Milwaukee. And let's not forget the governor's race. Well, he's won the governor's race, but I don't think third time's the charm. I think he's dead on arrival, Pete. We're going to have some new polling. It drops tomorrow. We're going to have Charles Franklin from the Marquette University Law School. He's going to join us here on Brady Street. And Pete, we're going to forecast, we're going to project, but an early prediction from yours truly, Wanker still sucks.
Thank you for the call, Pete. We do appreciate it. What does it say about this governor and the state when we are, and this is not, just a one-off, as the article mentions, this is now a trend. And this, let me tell you something, this is a great state. I mean, I was a transplant from Michigan when I came here as a kid, and as a child, once you get to the formative ages, I couldn't wait to get out, get to a bigger city, go do something different. But as I grew older and learned to really appreciate everything that this state has to offer, and Milwaukee's a really kick-ass place. We got a lot of things
getting
going
better
on.
all the time.
Yeah, a lot of construction, a lot of restaurants, a lot of culture. We have universities. I mean, we have a lot going on in this state.
But if you grow up Milwaukee, you create more Democrats, and that is why Wanker and the Republicans would villainize this fair city.
Do you think perhaps some of the young kids, the millennials, those that might get to a point in their life where they're comfortable enough to step away and do a startup, that if they decide to do so, number one, maybe they don't have the support of the state of Wisconsin like, foreign corporations do, or that they just don't like the political climate in the state?
Well, Dom, perhaps we have misplaced priorities. Perhaps we give $350 million annual incentives to manufacturing interest. Those aren't startups. Those are big-ass corporations, highly profitable in many cases, paying no frickin' taxes. Oh, my bad, 0.4% effectively here in the state of Wisconsin. Thank you, Scott Grabens, who was our earlier guest, Dom. You've hidden all the check sheets from me.
There's way too many pieces of paper.
It, of course, was Milwaukee's own state senator, Tim Carpenter. Two fine guests, two fine hosts. Fancy Brian, all of you, thank you very much. Please join us again on the radio tomorrow. We do this each weekday for your listening pleasure right here on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio, 1510 AM. Sign off soon, but always streaming live. NewsTalk1510am.com.
Anybody here have herpes?
Just because he says it doesn't make it true.
Yes.
I was on Zero Res Madison's Facebook page the other day, and they have almost 2,000 testimonials from local customers. Apparently, I'm not the only one stoked on how cool this company is. A green technology that actually works better and doesn't cost more. It's a no-brainer. I'm in. We are starting our own Devil's Advocates revolution to free your carpets from harsh chemicals and soaps. Call Zero Res today and ask for the Dom and Crute special 608-848-9000 or schedule online at ZeroResMadison.com. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward, it's the right way to clean.